Over the last few weeks, we've seen VCs and community treasuries allocate hundreds of millions of dollars to smart contract cryptocurrencies in a bid to expand their ecosystems. Now, one of these smart contract cryptos is Algorand, and even though Algorand has also been penning significant partnerships and accelerating its blockchain's development, it has gone by relatively unnoticed compared to many of its peers. That's why today I'm going to bring you up to speed on everything Algorand has been up to, what the project has planned going forward, and what it could mean for the ALGO coin. Not so fast. There's a disclaimer you must heed before you pass. You won't find any financial advice in this flick. Education and entertainment is my only shtick. If this is your first time seeing my face, my name is Guy, and I think it's about time fiat money was replaced. That's why I spend my time teaching others about the best alternative. It's called cryptocurrency, and maybe you've heard of it. If not, don't you fear, because you can learn all about it right here. Coins, tokens, news, reviews, exchanges, tutorials, taxes, regulations, and market moves. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, there's something here for you. So, if this sounds mighty fine, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so you get the next video on time. Speaking of time, I know there never seems to be enough of it, which is why I've left timestamps below in case you need to skip. I'd love it if you watch the whole way through, of course, because the longer you stick around, the more this video will be endorsed. So, now that you know my master plan, let's get started with Algorand. If you're unfamiliar with Algorand, here are the highlights. Algorand was founded by MIT professor Silvio Micali in 2017. Silvio is renowned for his contributions to cryptography, specifically zero-knowledge proofs. Algorand was built by Algorand Inc., a for-profit software company based in the United States. Algorand is owned and operated by the Algorand Foundation, a non-profit based in Singapore, which commissions Algorand Inc. and others to develop Algorand. The Algorand mainnet went live in May 2019 after raising over $120 million across various VC funding rounds in 2018 and an ICO in 2019. Algorand uses a novel proof-of-stake consensus mechanism called pure proof-of-stake, which purports to solve the blockchain trilemma of scalability, security, and decentralization. In pure proof-of-stake, relay nodes randomly select a participation node to propose a block. The likelihood that a participation node is selected is partially proportional to how much ALGO it has staked. The minimum stake for participation nodes is 1 ALGO, and the current staking reward is slightly north of 5% per year, with no lockup or unlock period. There's also no slashing on Algorand. While any wallet can act as a participation node, running a relay node currently requires permission from and coordination with the Algorand Foundation, hence why Algorand only has around 100 relay nodes. This somewhat centralized setup allows Algorand to process more than 1,000 transactions per second, including smart contract transactions. ALGO is Algorand's native coin. ALGO is used to pay for transaction fees, for staking, and will soon be used for governance as well. ALGO has a maximum supply of 10 billion, all of which were minted at mainnet. Algorand Inc. and the Algorand Foundation were allocated the lion's share of ALGO's supply, with the remainder going to investors, and almost all ICO participants opted to get a refund on their ALGOs in 2019 and 2020. The resulting concentration of ALGO holdings among the Algorand Foundation, Algorand Inc., and Algorand's early investors has historically suppressed the price of ALGO. This is because of Algorand's structured selling and accelerated vesting schemes, and you can learn more about those by watching my last video about Algorand using the link up there in the top right. Now, although Algorand's tokenomics are not the best, the demand for ALGO coming from its expanding ecosystem is slowly starting to outweigh the sell pressure coming from its core constituents. To give you an idea of how quickly Algorand is growing, when I last covered it in May, there were around 500 projects building on Algorand. By June, there were over 700. Now, one of these projects is the popular Exodus cryptocurrency wallet, which sold tokenized shares of its parent company on the Algorand blockchain to its US users. This must have impressed some people at Arrington XRP Capital because they launched a $100 million Algorand ecosystem fund just a few days later. At the end of June, Algorand announced its improvements to the Algorand virtual machine to make it easier for developers to code smart contracts. Algorand also began a pilot program to allow community members to run relay nodes, and successful candidates should be announced any day now. In July, Valkyrie Digital Assets launched its Algorand Trust, making it possible for institutions and accredited investors to get direct exposure to ALGO. This additional demand vector was nicely complemented by the completion of Algorand's $200 million ALGO staking reward program in August, which has surely reduced some sell pressure. Another thing that happened in August was Algorand's announcement that fintech company Coinbanks had shaken hands with El Salvador to build its blockchain infrastructure on Algorand. Algorand also completed its integration with the Wallet Connect browser extension, making it possible to easily access Algorand's growing ecosystem of dApps. In September, Algorand partnered with Wire to make it easy to buy the algo required to interact with said dApps. To encourage the creation of even more dApps, the Algorand Foundation launched a DeFi innovation fund using $150 million of its algos, worth $300 million. And because $400 million in funding is just not enough these days, Skybridge Capital turned it up a notch by raising another $100 million for Algorand. Now, in the midst of this blizzard of cash, Algorand secured a significant partnership with eMoney to issue European currency stablecoins on Algorand in what could be a precursor to another CBDC contract. Now, if you have no idea what CBDCs are, be sure to follow that link up there in the top right. Algorand's impressive progress managed to push the price of Algo to a new all-time high of around $2.50, which is only slightly more than its ICO price of $2.40. Algo has since seen a sharp correction, and it's not just because the rest of the crypto market crashed. If you look closely, Algo began crashing a couple of days before, and that's because the accelerated vesting schedule granted to early investors kicked back into gear. Now, I know all this selling is also frustrating Algonauts because I've seen lots of questions about it on the Algorand subreddit. The good news is that Algorand's terrible tokenomics make it much easier to forecast Algo's future price action. As you can see, the price pattern we're seeing now is eerily similar to the one we saw back in February. If the same scenario plays out, Algo should slowly climb back up to the $2.30 range over the next 2 months before being smacked back down by Algorand's selling schemes. To give you an idea of how much of a supply shock this has caused for Algo, consider this graph provided by the Algorand Foundation in a recent tokenomics report. The report goes to great lengths to try and dispel the idea that the introduction of all this supply hasn't significantly affected Algo's price, but the visible reality of basic economics tells us otherwise. Now, even so, there is some hope on the horizon for Algo. The Algorand Foundation has received hundreds of millions of dollars from investors, which means it might ease off its structured selling. Moreover, with all the accelerated vesting that's happened over the last year, we could see it stop as soon as 2022. Now, that may be more than a year from now, but it's sooner than the initial projection of 2024. Now, the $150 million in Algo put down for DeFi is a bit concerning as far as sell pressure goes, but thankfully, there's a new demand driver on the way for Algo, and that is governance. Algorand's governance has been in the works since last November, when founder Silvio Micali proposed a push for more decentralization. Although the details of Algorand's governance are still being hammered out and will likely change over time, here's more or less how Algorand's governance will work at the outset. Starting on October the 1st, Algo holders will be able to become governors by committing Algo tokens using any official Algorand wallet. I will quickly note that the wallet used in Algorand's recent governance demo is Algo Signer, and I'll leave a link to both it and the demo in the description for any visual learners. Anyway, any algo holder can become a governor, and there is no minimum amount of algo you need to commit. Committed algo tokens are not locked, so you can still cash out in case of emergency. Governing periods last for 1 quarter, aka 3 months, and you can apply to become a governor again at the end of the governing period. To earn governance rewards, you must keep the amount of algo you committed in your wallet for the entire 3-month period. Governance rewards are paid out at the end of every governing period and range from 6 to 30% per year, depending on how much of algo's supply is being committed to governance and how often you participate in voting. Anyone can submit a governance proposal to the Algorand Foundation at the bottom of the governance FAQ page. Link to that will be down below. Naturally, 1 algo equals 1 vote, and a 51% majority wins. Although the Algorand Foundation will not participate in governance directly, it will make its preferred option known, and you can set your committed algo to vote according to its preference by default. If you're wondering whether exchanges get a vote, the answer is yes, and obviously this could lead to some issues down the line. The Algorand Foundation is apparently coordinating with them to ensure their voting activities are not disruptive to the community, but we will have to see how this plays out in practice. If you have any concerns or questions, check out the Algorand Governance channel on their Discord, and if you want to learn more about the importance of crypto governance, follow the link up there. Governance is just one of Algorand's many upcoming milestones. One of the most significant milestones should be happening soon, and that's the 1.0 release of Algorand's virtual machine. The improvements AVM 1.0 will bring are honestly a bit too technical for me, so I'll summarize them using a popular song lyric. Harder, better, faster, stronger. To my understanding, AVM 1.0 is required for the rollout of some of Algorand's more advanced DeFi protocols, including ALGO DEX, an order book-based decentralized exchange built on Algorand. Another one of these DeFi protocols is ALGOFi, a decentralized lending and borrowing market which was incubated by the famous Y Combinator startup accelerator back in August. ALGOFi and AlgoDex are currently in their testnet stage, with the former anticipating a mainnet launch later this year and the latter anticipating a mainnet launch early next year. Between now and then, Algorand Inc. is aiming to make it possible to increase Algorand's TPS from 1,000 to over 46,000, and here's how they're going to do it. As I mentioned in my video about the fastest cryptocurrencies, you can increase transaction speeds by speeding up the block time, increasing the block size, or both. Algorand is planning to do both and then some. Right now, Algorand's block finalization time is 4.5 seconds. Because each Algorand block can hold 5,000 transactions, this works out to around 1,100 TPS. Easy maths, my favorite type. What Algorand's devs are going to do is speed up Algorand's block finalization time from 4.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds and increase the number of transactions in each block from 5,000 to 25,000. This works out to 10,000 TPS. The 46,000 TPS target is based on a new technology called pipelining that Algorand's devs are hoping to implement. In a nutshell, this involves assuming that a block is valid as soon as it's proposed by a participation node. Because block proposals on Algorand only take half a second, this turns 10,000 TPS into 50,000 TPS, and 4K TPS is written off because about 1% of proposed blocks on Algorand fail to finalize, as per founder Silvio Micali's paper on Algorand's TPS aspirations. Now, if you've already seen my aforementioned video about the fastest cryptocurrencies, you'll remember that reducing block time and increasing block size means the size of that blockchain grows very, very fast. This can lead to decentralization issues down the line, as a smaller and smaller number of nodes will be able to store the full transaction history for that cryptocurrency. Interestingly enough, this concern was highlighted by Arrington XRP Capital in its interview with Silvio, and Silvio responded by saying Algorand will compress its blockchain history using zero-knowledge proofs. I know this sounds crazy, and what's even crazier is that another cryptocurrency called Mina Protocol does this already, and you can learn all about it by clicking the link chilling in the usual spot, top right. Now, while Algorand's zero-knowledge proof plan sounds amazing in theory, as we discovered with Mina Protocol, using zero-knowledge proofs to verify transaction history has its limits, especially if something goes horribly wrong. This is why Mina Protocol has archival nodes as backup, and Algorand has these too. Relay nodes actually store Algorand's entire transaction history. And if you're wondering how big the Algorand blockchain is, the answer is apparently over 760 gigabytes, and that figure is from back in May, meaning it's probably much larger now. To put things into perspective, the Bitcoin blockchain is only around 355 gigabytes, and it's been around for more than 12 years. Algorand has been around for slightly more than 2. So this means the Algorand blockchain is growing at an unsustainable rate, and this will only get worse when larger block sizes and faster block times are introduced. Zero-knowledge proofs will only work until they don't, and if there's no full history of Algorand lying around anywhere to recover from a critical blockchain issue, that could be the end of Algorand. Now, another concern I have about Algorand relates to something Algorand's COO Sean Ford said during a recent interview with CoinDesk. Quote, "We have the ability to add features that financial institutions have become used to around account freezing, clawbacks, minimizing risk." Moments before that, Sean specified that, quote, "By building many of our capabilities into our Layer 1, we have mitigated quite a lot of risk." Now, I might just be hearing things, but this sounds like Algorand Inc. holds the master keys to the Algorand blockchain and won't hesitate to use them if it's asked to do so. This is possible given that, quote, "Algorand Inc., Algorand Foundation, and early backers, including universities and commercial entities, are running relay nodes." That's according to the Algorand Foundation's FAQs. Although the Algorand Foundation is looking to recruit community members to run relay nodes, the requirements are quite high, and I reckon they will only get higher once Algorand's TPS is increased. This begs the question of how robust Algorand really is, given that its blockchain ultimately relies on these relay nodes to function. Yes, I know participation nodes are technically in charge of consensus. However, Silvio admitted in his interview that relay nodes can slow down the network if they have a slow internet connection, and I reckon if too many of them go offline, then so does Algorand. If the relay nodes containing Algorand's full transaction history are destined to be directed by the Algorand Foundation and its affiliates, is Algorand truly decentralized and secure? Now, funnily enough, a simple solution to the transaction history issue would be for Algorand to follow Solana's lead and use Arweave for permanent decentralized storage. And you can learn more about that by clicking up there. Now, you might find this hard to believe, but I believe in Algorand. I don't hold Algo as part of my personal cryptocurrency portfolio, though, and that's for purely economical reasons. In my opinion, Algorand's tokenomic issues are far from being resolved. The Algorand Foundation's structured selling and the early backer accelerated vesting are going to continue for years. Even though the Algorand Foundation might ease off on its algo sales now that it's received some fiat funding, the fact that it offered up 150 million of its own algos for DeFi development suggests otherwise. I also think that Algorand's governance has less to do with decentralization and more to do with artificially increasing the demand for algo to offset some of the damage being done to its price by its other policies. If Algorand truly cared about decentralization, it would allow anyone to join as a relay node, and the only reason it'd restrict that is because relay nodes play a much more important role than it's letting on. So, given all these gripes, why do I believe in Algorand? Well, one word: transparency. Algorand has its issues. I reckon every cryptocurrency does. The difference is that all Algorand's issues are out in the open, even though they're not advertised. Almost everything I said here can be found on the Algorand Foundation's website, and the rest can be found on Algorand Inc.'s website. In my experience, even the most die-hard Algonauts have acknowledged these, and they're as aware as I am that Algorand is actively working to address these issues. While I am skeptical that all these issues can be resolved, I know that it's possible because other cryptocurrency projects have done the same in worse situations. Algorand is arguably one of the most legit cryptocurrencies out there, especially as far as the institutions are concerned. The fundamentals are there, and there's no denying that. There are just a lot of things that need to be fixed before I can look at Algorand without flinching, and I'd rather not hold on to Algo for the years it'll take before the price starts to reflect the fundamentals. Those comments by Algorand's COO are also a very serious concern to me and anyone else who cares about the core values of cryptocurrency. Freezing cryptos is a big no-no. Now, the awesome thing is that someone at Algorand will probably address this concern if and when someone in their community raises it, just like they've done with all the others. Transparency and a willingness to improve. That's what I love about Algorand and why I still believe it has potential in the long term. And that's all I've got for you today, folks. So if you liked what you saw, give me a like. If you plan on coming back, remember to subscribe and also ping that notification bell. Until the next video hits the tube, you can head on over to Coin Bureau Clips for bloops, behind the scenes, and news. You can also find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, or get your fill of daily crypto updates on my Telegram. My weekly newsletter is the real deal, though. It's jam-packed with the knowledge you need to supercharge your portfolio. If you succeed in doing so, consider getting a hoodie or tee from the Coin Bureau merch store. You can find all these resources by following the links down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time-ish. Toot toot!